Hey everyone, this is Rosie, your host here at the Cheer Chronicles. Welcome back, and here is another episode. On this episode, we have 15-year-old Valentina, who is an all-star cheerleader and a dedicated flyer on TGLC. With 7 years of experience, she's already a 2-time world champion at the cheerleading world. Val's life is all about cheerleading, and she loves every moment of it. When she's not training, she's balancing high school and her cheer commitments. Fun fact about Val, she is passionate about fitness and nutrition, always aiming to be her best both on and off the mat. Val's journey is truly inspiring, you guys, and she's just getting started. Keep an eye on this hardworking athlete as she reaches new heights. We were so excited that she joined us here on the Cheer Chronicles podcast. What an amazing episode full of such wonderful information for athletes. Here is the episode. Enjoy.
Come on, y'all.
Hey, hands to go.
Welcome to the Cheer Chronicles podcast with Rosie.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cheer Chronicles podcast. I am your host Rosie, and today we have a super special guest, Valentina from TGLC, 2-time world cheerleading champion, is joining us today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I am too.
Okay, so we're gonna get started with our first question. You ready?
Oh yeah.
All right, here we go. Can you share a bit about your journey in cheerleading? How did you get started?
Yeah, so I grew up trying so many different sports. My parents always wanted me to be involved in a physical activity. Anywhere from different styles of dance, jazz, hip hop, ice skating, swimming. Mm-hmm. I tried gymnastics like many cheerleaders, and I really liked the floor aspect of it. I didn't like bars or beam or anything. And somehow rec cheer came into the lineup. I did that for about a year, and my family and I moved here to Florida. I ended up cheering at Southwest for 4 seasons, and now I'm here in Miami.
Awesome.
There we go.
Yeah. I feel like so many athletes start with rec cheer. My kids started with the rec cheer as well, and then, they grow from there and fall in love with it. So I love that you're on the podcast, right? And that for the first time, first guest that brings her own questions to the podcast that she wanted to make sure we covered today. So here's one of them. You've accomplished so much already by making your dream team and becoming a world champion. Can you share the mindset techniques or positive thinking approaches you use to manifest and truly believe you could achieve these big goals that you have achieved?
So I very vividly remember my year on AK3, which was 2020.
Shout out to AK3, y'all.
Proud of them over here. I had this journal where I would manifest every single day. I will hit my stunts, which eventually turned into I will be on TGLC. Even though I was nowhere near ready 3 years prior, I knew that one day I was going to get there. And I wrote these things down on the daily, every single practice. I would struggle with certain stunts, coming from the level below. You're throwing different stunts at you, have to learn new techniques. I would just really write on the notebook, and eventually it all started coming to fruition.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that positive mindset and just telling yourself, hey, I could get this done, I could accomplish this. And journaling for sure is a big part of all of that. So what inspired you to pursue cheerleading at such a high level? Like, did you ever think with your manifestations or maybe you had a hard practice one day and you're like, you know what, I think, level 3 is where I need to be until I age out. Did you ever think that, or were you always like, I'm just going to keep going and keep going?
I did. I had a rough season. The year after AK3 year, I was on a senior co-ed 3 and I double teamed on bomb squad. And it was just a lot. It was my first year of middle school and then double teaming. I was like, for a good month, it was very rough practices. I thought to myself, am I in the right space right now? Am I doing what I want to do? But I would turn on TGLC 2019, Karate Kid year, one of my favorite routines to date. And that would just keep me inspired to keep pushing, because I knew eventually I wanted to reach that goal and it would be worth it in the end.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, I was just telling you before we started how my girls listen to TGLC's music before every competition. Like certain ones, they have to listen before, you know, they hit the mat. And so, yeah, that's awesome that they inspired you that way. Many athletes find motivation and mental toughness by reading books on mindset. Can you share how mental strength books inspired you, and which ones have you read?
At the top of my head right now, I can think of The Champion's Mind. I would annotate that book like crazy, highlight really important factors. That really got me into manifestation too, and visualizing. After I started reading that consistently, that's when my routine started hitting. Everything really became easier. And I just think it was never really physical. Just I got the mental part down, and after that, everything started hitting.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody for sure needs to read that book.
Oh yeah, it's a great book.
Awesome. So what does a typical training week look like for you?
So besides obviously going into stunt and tumble and the scheduled practices on the weekends, I like to train every muscle group in the mornings, or maybe on Monday I'll do upper body, or Tuesday I'll do lower body, because as a cheerleader you're using all those muscles, whether it's flying, tumbling, going full out, you know, you need a lot of stamina, a lot of cardio. Yeah. So I always say I like to get between 2-3 workouts in apart from cheerleading during the day. Right. Yeah.
So wake up in the morning, get those workouts in. Even, do you do them on opposite days of practice, or do you do them on practice days?
I do some lighter ones on practice days. I usually go heavier or harder on non-practice days.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to train your body and keep in shape even off season. Do you guys even have an off season? I feel like nobody does in cheer.
Honestly, I wouldn't even consider it. You finish Worlds, train for tryouts, and back at it.
Yeah. So how do you balance cheerleading with other aspects of your life, like school, especially being on a cheerleading worlds team like TGLC? You guys travel so much, and your social life, of course. How do you handle all of that?
Honestly, a big factor. It's crazy. I wouldn't be able to be doing what I'm doing without online school. It's such a flexible program where I'm able to, you know, miss Fridays because that's the day we travel to Atlanta or Dallas, and then come back Monday. Finish school in 3 hours, 4 hours, and being able to go to practices. That's a really big part of it. Obviously, prioritizing when we have practices on the weekends, hanging out with my friends after practice, which also goes hand in hand with having a good bond with them, because I take the time to socialize with them outside of it.
Awesome. Yeah. Do you feel like most of your friends are cheerleading, or do you still have like some friends that aren't from the cheer world?
100% all of them are from cheer, or I met them through cheer, and maybe they're not cheering anymore, but I still keep in contact with them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like you definitely need to have good time management when it comes to online school, right? It's like college, right? Where you're not maybe in class every day, but you definitely need to maintain and keep up with the syllabus, keep up with your work. So that's awesome. What do you spend time with your parents?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I'm with my dad most of the week, and then with my mom after her work or during the weekends. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so next question. As an athlete, how important is it to eat a good meal before practice or a comp? And this was one of the questions that you wanted to bring up. Have you ever noticed a difference in your own energy levels and performance when you've skipped a meal beforehand? And also, how can one teammate not fueling up properly impact the rest of the team?
So I've always enjoyed the nutrition field, something that really interests me. And now being an athlete, I've definitely experienced the negative and positive effects of fueling properly. I could be eating a meal 2 to 3 hours before practice, and I know by the time practice rolls around, that's still not enough to sustain me. So if I don't have a protein-packed snack before then, I'm sluggish, my muscles are sore the next day, I feel dehydrated. Yeah. I just feel like I can't continue on with my full outs, as opposed to when I do, I have the energy to mat talk more, scream more in the full outs, and help my teammates. Some of my teammates, they're teenagers. They don't really prioritize the food. They just think it's all practice and showing up, especially as bases unfueled. You don't have the energy to carry, girls above your head or flip your body and make sure your arms don't give out. That's definitely really big. And I've seen how much it can affect our team.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like that's not something that most cheerleaders think about. Or even, teenagers in any sport really is thinking about, making sure you're having that good protein portion of your meals so that, no pixie sticks for the girls. Which I've seen people do before. Right before mat, we're just going to have a bunch of sugar. Can you describe the physical and mental preparation required for a level 6 routine?
So I would say when it comes to that caliber, that level, it's not much more about the physical training. It's more about the mental preparation, the maturity level. I've seen athletes that aren't skill ready for level 6 routines, but because of their work ethic, the coachability that they have, they're able to really excel in that high level just because of their mindset. I mean, I would say that I wasn't necessarily super skill ready for TGLC, but I was really always open to learning new skills, taking corrections. And I think that's where I am today now because of my mindset. Yeah. And also, and I feel like the one thing I tell, my little athletes, and I tell their parents is the best thing is to continue and remain to be coachable, as long as you continue to listen. And I have had athletes before on my teams that are way beyond the level that we're competing at and still being able to listen to the instructions that we give you, even though obviously you're like maybe on a level 4 team or a level 3 team. So yeah, I think that's super important. But yeah, that's good to know because I didn't think about, they might not be ready, but the fact that, their attitude is good and they, are ready for that. And another thing too, I think when you're on that type of team or any team really, not letting that frustration get to you when you do get a correction, right? It's not necessarily that the coach is like yelling at you or, putting you down in any way, but they're making you better. They're investing time in you, right? I think that's so important. Thank you for bringing that up. As a coach, sometimes you tell the kids things and they think, oh, well, she doesn't like me or she's doing this, but it really is about, continuing to make progress and remembering that the coaches are investing in you just like you're investing in those coaches in that team. Correct. I feel like we, myself included, growing up, I always thought of it, are the coaches attacking me? Why are they picking on me? Over the years, I've learned it's actually the opposite. They care so much and they see so much in you that they take the time to correct you. Yeah,
they see the potential. Yeah. Awesome. Yay. What are some of the most challenging skills or stunts you've had to master? Because you guys do some crazy things.
Yeah, it's actually a specific skill, a hand-in-hand, where the flyer is pretty self-explanatory in the handstand and there's a base under. One thing I'm still perfecting right now. The thing about TGLC's routines and just that level of skills is there's very little detail to go into that, to where your fingers are placed, where your eyes need to be looking, are your toes facing the correct angle, and that's definitely one that I'm still struggling with and perfecting. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. The little things like that, because y'all make it look so easy, like, oh, there she is, she's good.
Yeah, I came to TGLC thinking it's a handstand. I got it. I was always good at those. It's nothing compared to a handstand on the floor.
No.
It's very, very technique demanding.
Wow. And you don't have the same base throughout the whole routine, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. And everybody's a little different.
It's different.
You just have to adjust.
You just adjust.
Yeah, that goes into the bonding for sure. So how do you stay safe while performing these high-level stunts and the tumbling passes that you guys have?
One thing our coaches really preach to us is focusing on the basics and the technique. You can always rely on those. They're never going to get you wrong. So there's athletes who just focus on chucking the skill just to get in, move on to a next level, especially in lower levels.
Yeah, for sure. That happens a lot. Yeah.
And that just leads to injury at the end of the day. Whereas if you focus so much on the technique and the skill, the basics really is all that matters. Even in level 6, our coaches always tell us layouts are the foundation of everything. And because of that, injuries or setbacks are diminished because of it.
Awesome. Oh, wow. Layouts. Okay. That's good to know. Gotta master those.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any tips or techniques for younger athletes aspiring to reach level 6, which is, I'm sure, everyone watching?
So, I would say everyone always thinks, go train, go to the workout gym, lift weights, go tumble, go stunt. The biggest tip I would say is work your mental strength as much as you would your physical strength. Work it even more if you can, because you have more time sitting down, whether you're in the car, whether you're on a plane, watching TV. It's not always necessarily about what you do with your body, but you can accomplish so much more if you're mentally strong.
And let me segue into this. What advice would you give someone who, obviously with TGLC and teams of that level, not everyone, even though you make the roster, you might not make mat. So what advice would you give? Like, hey, I'm trying my best here and I didn't make mat this year.
I would say work with as many people as you can. The more people you work with, the more opportunity you have. For us, an example is if we have a base or a flyer that didn't make mat. If we know that flyer can stunt with anyone, they have a better chance of being in the routine. If we have a base that can base any girl.
Yeah.
Being versatile.
Yeah.
Also tumbling, because in case someone gets hurt, they can also tumble. But if a base gets hurt, they can also base. Being a versatile athlete just really increases your chances.
Yeah, and that brings me to an example where so many athletes struggle with, hey, I'm used to being a back spot, or hey, I'm used to being a flyer, and now this season I'm not flying anymore. And I always tell my athletes, be that triple threat where you could go in and do all the things, because when you move up levels, that's what you want. You want to know how to base, even though maybe you won't end up as a base that year. But yeah, being versatile. And so many athletes I see are like, oh, well, I'm not able to do this year because, obviously new team, you might have a new role, but continue to work on things. Don't give up on the sport. Don't have a bad attitude about it. Embrace it, enjoy it, learn from it, so that, who knows, maybe one year you'll be on a team like TGLC and be able to do different things because you've had that experience before.
Yeah, I mean, being able to do it all, I find it fascinating. There's very little people I know, but there is some who can fly, base, back spot, tumble, jump, perform, and it just leaves my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much they can do.
Yeah. I could see athletes in the gym that we're at now just being that type of athlete already. So that's awesome. Yeah. What's been your most memorable competition experience and why?
This past Worlds was so surreal to me. It was one of the most prepared moments I felt for a competition. Just leading up to Worlds, the month of April, we trained so hard. We made a goal to ourselves as athletes, and it was a promise that was hard to keep in the moment. We knew it would pay off. We would not leave the gym until we hit 1 to 2 full outs.
Okay.
So at the time, people who are in every part of the routine, they were struggling, being tired. But when we got to Worlds, not a single person was worried. We knew we were gonna hit. We worked so hard on our mental strength again, but at the end of the day, the nerves get you. It's normal. Yeah. We knew we were gonna hit. We were so prepared for it.
That's awesome.
Being able to be prepared just allowed me to actually enjoy the moment. I wasn't worried. Is my stunt gonna fall? Is my stunt gonna hit? I was able to be present and just have fun with my friends for one last time.
That's awesome. How do you handle the pressure and nerves before a big performance, just like we talked? I mean, obviously this time around with Worlds, you said you got mentally prepared, but how do you handle some competitions where, hey, we didn't have the best warm-up backstage, or we were just talking about how some athletes get such anxiety, you know, that my chest hurts like before I go on. So how do you handle that?
So on the physical aspect of it, our coaches always really preach never going into a competition with the chances of a stunt falling. Whether it has to be watered down just for this one competition, you never want to go in playing your cards. You want to go in knowing that whatever I'm throwing or whatever I'm putting in the air is going to stay in the air. Getting those reps and going in extra days helps us so much because we know we've hit more times than we've fallen. Having that under our belt is crucial. At the end of the day, not being prepared, lack of preparation is what leads to nerves.
Yeah. Or, you know, sometimes, you know, you have an athlete who got hurt like a week before competition. So I know that sometimes even brings a lot of anxiety, not only to the person having to replace the athlete, but the whole team in general, right? So yeah. Describe the feeling of hitting a perfect routine on a competition floor with TGLC.
This was a hard one. When you gave me the list, it's a very indescribable feeling because it's something you would have to be a part of throughout the whole journey. From right now, we just started a new season. From the moment you meet everyone on your team to then, it's all you worked hard for a whole year coming into fruition. There's a lot of emotions in those 2 minutes and 30 seconds on day 2 of Worlds. I mean, I was crying at the end of dance. You feel happy because you just accomplished all your goals. You feel sad. You're never going to cheer with some of these people ever again. A lot of excitement because if you hit the routine you put out on the floor, you know your chances are better to getting the desired outcome. So it's definitely really emotional.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I cry watching you guys. Like, and I don't know. I only know you on the team and Holly, right? So yeah, I'm like, I cry myself. So what qualities do you think make for a great team leader in cheerleading?
I think self-assurance is a really big one. Knowing that what you're saying to a team is correct. The way you put yourself out, if you have the right things to say, but the way you express it, is it correct? Your teammates aren't going to take you seriously, or they're not going to really rely on you. Whereas if you have the right things to say and you express it confidently, your shoulders back, you're well-spoken, your teammates are going to be like, maybe she knows what she's on. Yeah, and that's a really big thing.
Yeah, and I also feel like for leaders in general, following, you know, I guess, if you say, let's do this, you also doing that as a leader, right? Not just, I guess, practicing what you preach. Making sure that, hey, I'm telling this team and motivating them, I need to stay motivated too. I need to also put in the hard work mentally and physically as well.
Yeah, my coaches always say, I try to be a leader. It's always hard because, you know, we have a age range from 13 to 19 years old. It's difficult, you know, trying to get other older people's attention, but leading by example is a big one. If the coach is asked to do a workout, I'll be the first one to send in that workout. At the end of the day, it leads others to do it, and we have a whole team doing the workout, which ultimately pays off.
Yeah, for everyone. Yeah. Who are your role models in the cheerleading world?
So I have 2 that I've actually had for a while. Jules on Double O is a phenomenal flyer. Her technique is absolutely flawless. I study her videos, go on her Instagram, slow it down, try to mimic her technique. And then the other one, I actually have the honor to be coached by her, Demi Rosario. I take in absolutely everything she tells me, every technique, and I apply it. She's one of the athletes that she can do it all. She's a quadruple threat. She could tumble, stunt, fly, base. She's absolutely phenomenal, and it's crazy because I look up to both of them since TGLC 2019.
Okay. Do they know?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think they're over. Yeah.
They know. Okay, so what keeps you motivated to continue pushing your limits in this sport? Obviously winning.
Not necessarily, actually. I feel like motivation is unreliable, so I just really rely on my discipline. There's days where I just don't feel like pushing, whether I'm sad, angry, tired from, you know, the drives, practices, but chasing the feeling that I felt on World's Day 2 and accomplishing the goal we were able to accomplish.
Yeah. You know, since you say, you know, the discipline and motivation part of it, there was not this past season, but the season before, my oldest was on pistols, and they were a youth level 2 team. And they went in day 1 of All-Star World and were phenomenal. And I still have that video of them. And it's crazy because their whole theme was like a magic, like poof, or magic. And I just felt like they were magic the whole season long. And so sometimes to motivate myself and get myself disciplined, I watch that routine and remember like everything they went through that season and what they accomplished. They ended up getting second that year, but what a phenomenal season they had. So yes, I get what you're saying.
I've heard about these little pistols, yeah.
They're awesome. Okay, so some parents try to motivate their kids to practice sports skills by offering rewards or incentives. And this was one of your questions because I, as a parent, have never done this for my kid to say, well, if you do this, I'll give you this. What are your thoughts on the approach? Does it help kids stay dedicated, or does it take away from the love of the game?
I've actually experienced this a lot, not myself. I've experienced many parents doing it to their athletes recently and in younger generations approaching. Whether it's bribing for a new phone, as much as that, or new clothes. I think if I were teammates with these girls, it would be very frustrating to know that you would have to be bribed to do something. It takes away from the fact that they love the sport and they're there to do it. And parents, if you have to bribe your kids to do something, they may be in the wrong sport.
Right.
So
they should love it enough to be motivated to do it on their own. Yeah.
I don't think there should be a reason besides the love for the sport that you have to push them.
Yeah, I haven't experienced that, to be honest. I mean, obviously not with my kids, but I haven't really experienced any parents doing that. So I thought it was so intriguing when you sent me that question. Like, is that really happening? But I guess it is.
Just in the past 2 months, I've experienced it a couple times, and I hadn't known about it either until these past couple months. That never crossed my mind. It was really shocking to me that that's what's going on. And so,
wow. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. Can you share a time when your team overcame a significant challenge?
So I would say about October, November-ish last year, our TGLC was going through a rough patch, and our coaches told us they wouldn't be showing up to our next practice.
Oh.
Yeah, as a little test.
Oh.
We decided to coach ourselves, and that's where we really realized how grateful we have to be for our coaches, how much goes on that they do. Our coaches sleep, breathe, and love cheerleading more than anyone in the world. And we realized how hard it is to coach 38 teenagers from, again, ages 13 to 19. And we just really developed a sense of gratefulness for them, even more than we already did.
Yeah. I have to tell you that even, you know, when you're watching a team and trying to coach them, most of the time as athletes, you have to remember your part, right? Of course, you know what's going on around you, but I got to stay on count and know when I go to tumble or when I go and move to this next stunt. The coaches have to know everyone's part.
It's insane. Yes. Absolutely insane.
I don't think people realize that. And they remember it. And they know it.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
The counts, the spots. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in a team environment, how impactful can one person's negative mindset be on the overall morale and performance of the group? And what role does analyzing our own thoughts patterns play in preventing and spreading that negative mindset? Have you experienced that?
Yeah, I always try to be a positive teammate because I know we're full of energy. Our energy transfers. One person coming in with a negative attitude, whether they didn't get enough sleep, they didn't eat and maybe they're moody, or they failed a test, they had a bad day at work, it definitely transfers. We really preach leaving a problem outside the door, because if you come with it, you never know, that could be the reason your stunt fell in the routine or you busted your tumbling pass.
Yeah.
And even though it is such a large team that I'm on of 38, one person could bring 37 others down with them. And one person can also light up 37 others. So just really being aware of your thoughts can make a big difference.
Yeah. That's important for sure. I always tell my teams, like, obviously I coach school cheer. Even though our routines are very all-starry, they're choreographed by our coaches at Top Gun Southwest Florida. But I always tell them, no matter what, when we come in here, we are a family. We, no matter what's going on outside of here, if you're having any issue with your back spot, when we're in here, there's no issue, right? Because obviously it's also very dangerous. We're throwing people up in the air. We have to be aware and be positive and know what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
So all of that plays a role for sure. How do you stay positive and focused, especially after a setback in a routine or an injury that maybe that you didn't experience, but I'm used to facing with this person and now they're out for an injury? How do you handle stuff like that?
Just knowing that everything is part of a reason. I like to think of the example of an arrow has to be pulled back before it's launched forward. A perfect example of this would be 2021. I tried out for level 4. After my first year, I had already completing level 3. I ended up making level 3 again. And I was just really, I had never really experienced this feeling before. A feeling of I had done everything in my power to get all my level 4 skills. I was super consistent level 4 athlete, but it was just, maybe it wasn't meant for me in the moment. A couple months later, I was called to fill in for an athlete on level 4 routine bomb squad. Around December, they ended up needing me there for the rest of the season and ended up finishing that year with 2 major wins. And it was just such a phenomenal feeling and a really cool experience as a double teamer. And I learned so many things that year. And then I fell back on track and ended on level 5 the next year.
Yeah. And speaking of the pistols that year, my daughter, who was on the team, wanted to move up and still needed to be on the level 2 team. But I guess in her mind, she thought, which happens to so many athletes, like, I thought I was going to get on this team and they know I've been putting in the work and I have the skills, but sometimes you're needed there for other reasons. It doesn't have to do anything with your skill set. And so she ended up being on pistols, and I never asked the coaches, or I usually just try and trust the process, right? And at first she didn't understand. And as the season went on, she realized, first of all, I'm one of the oldest on this team and I need to lead. And that's where her mindset was, like, I need to be a leader on the team, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Apart from, obviously, she had the skills to be on the team, but definitely had a different role of being one of the oldest and leading more than anything else that year. I felt like, maybe, I don't know, the coaches might say something else, but from what I saw, that was really her role there. And this past year, when she was on level 3, first year on level 3, she took, obviously she's one of the younger ones and she's a rookie to the level. So she really took a step back. So yeah, sometimes, you don't get that desired position or that desired team. And one of the things I always say is don't give up, because the season is so long.
Oh, yeah.
You never know. You might end up on that team that you wanted to be on and get to double team. Now you get best of both worlds, where you're on the team you were put on and then the team you wanted to be on. And that happens so much. I feel it just saddens me when people are like, I didn't get on the team and I'm just out. Yeah.
I agree. You don't know what could ever happen. You don't know. Yeah.
We gotta wait and see. Don't give up. And how do you, as an athlete, can it be easy to look at others? It can be easy to look at others and compare yourself, right? So what advice or insight do you have on not getting caught up on comparing yourself to other teammates? For example, I'm sure you had teammates who didn't get to move on, right? Who are kind of like, hey, my friend moved on to this and I'm still here, to this level team and I'm still here. What advice would you give to those kids?
It's very frustrating, and that's something we'll have to be able to identify. Knowing that everyone has their own different path. We're not all going to take the same routes. We're not all going to end up in the same location. Just knowing that every path is individual, very unique. That's all. You can't compare yourself to others if they've been cheering for 8 years if you've only been cheering for 3. Or you're the one that's been cheering longer, they've only been cheering for 3. You have to think of multiple factors, where they come from, the time they invest.
Right.
So many different factors that play into that.
Yeah, but you definitely can't compare yourself. Everybody has their own journey. And if that's in the cards for you to end up and move up, then, you'll see your friend again, I'm sure.
Yeah. If it's meant to be, it'll be.
How do you and your team build trust and camaraderie?
So one cool thing about TGLC is we go in on off days. We practice Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the coaches joke around that we also practice Wednesdays because we're there. A lot of 38 of us are there on that day just to throw in some stunts, get extra reps in. While we're doing our reps, we joke around. We have so much fun. We watch our videos. During that time, which is not a scheduled practice, we're all bonding, getting to know each other, seeing how we all joke around. And it's the best of both worlds because you're getting your reps in and you're having fun. We also do a lot of team bondings. Our best routines and our best moments as a team is when we're most bonded. That's why when April rolls around, it's when we are at our peak.
Right.
Because we're so well bonded from the whole year. So I think enforcing a lot of team bondings and just really making the effort to get to know your bases, even your stunt group, your little group of 4, makes a big difference.
Yeah.
You're going to see some really big results.
Yeah, and because, a lot of that stunting has to do with trust. So the more you bond, the more trust you have with each other. So tell us about some short-term and long-term goals you have in your career in cheerleading.
So I definitely see myself doing all of my years on TGLC. I don't see myself anywhere else. And being on Double O when I'm age eligible for that. And definitely coaching at Top Gun eventually.
That would be awesome.
I definitely love the environment. It's something you can't stay away from.
Yeah.
Once you're there, it's hard to escape.
And with Double O, you were saying you need to be 18 to be on that team. Shout out to Double O. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Big Double O fans over here.
What advice would you give young athletes dreaming of reaching your level?
Yeah, so like I said, I feel like we're talking so much about mental strength here. But besides that, working when no one's watching is a really big one. You can go to these practices, showing up at your best, but it's what you do when you get home. Are you stretching when you get home?
Yeah.
Are you working out? Or are you just going in on practice days and tumbling and stunting at your best? It's what you do. Are you working, you're tumbling by yourself? Are you always relying on a coach to be there to watch you tumble? Can you go in and tumble by yourself? It's what happens on behind the scenes that makes a great athlete.
Do you see a lot of your teammates doing, like I've seen coaches that have been, on teams before and now they're coaching, go in and do the whole routine, just them on the floor.
Yeah,
do you guys do that a lot?
Yeah, last year, my hand-in-hand group struggled at the beginning. We would go in middle of the day on Wednesday, the hottest time of the hour, and a couple of other teammates would join us. We would play the music and do the best we could to go full out. Obviously, not everyone was there to throw our stunts.
Right.
Whether it was doing the jump sequence, all the stunts, the tumbling for others, we would do it, and by the end of the week, we would be having so many full outs under our belts.
Right, because you put in that extra work. Yeah, that's awesome. How has cheerleading shaped you as a person, both on and off the mat?
So, my first and third season, I was coached by a really strong coach, John Bencomo.
We all know John.
Oh, yeah. He played a major role in my character.
He's a tough coach.
He's a very tough coach. I now see myself, people's words don't bother me. I have such a strong personality because of those 2 seasons with him. They were hard at the moment, and looking back, I laugh now. That little athlete was very scared at the time, but now everything is just, I know that happened for a reason, made me a super strong athlete. And I go about my day, whether it's at cheer, now on TGLC practices, or just regular day-to-day life, things don't bother me as much. I know to keep trying. All the lessons I learned on those 2 teams are ones I will carry.
Yeah, forever. Wow. I wonder, does he know?
Oh, yeah.
He does?
He does. I talk to him,
awesome.
yeah.
You still talk to him?
Whenever I see him around, he'll be at the gym sometimes, or... Yeah, I think I bumped into him one time when I was tumbling at the gym. And, yeah, I talk about it with Caroline.
Oh, okay,
how much it shaped us.
Shout out to Caroline Warner.
Oh, yeah. Still a good friend of mine.
Yeah, we love Caroline. Let's see. What misconception about cheerleading do you wish people would understand?
So, I would say, when I could speak for a lot of cheerleaders, when we're asked what sport do you do, and you automatically reply with, oh, cheer. People are like, who do you cheer for? I wish that question transitioned to, what style of cheer do you do?
Yeah.
You know, we have all-star, reg cheer, sideline, college, and they're all very different in their way. I would almost say they're their own little sport in there. Right. So I just wish people knew the cheer world.
How different
it could be. Yeah.
All the aspects of it. Yeah. And they are their own little sports because they all have their different techniques and their different rules that you have to follow when you perform them. So yeah, that's a good analogy. Not who do you cheer for, but what type of cheer do you do? How do you see cheerleading influencing younger generations?
So I would say the same way I was influenced at such a young age with at a younger age with older routines, whether it was Double O or TGLC. I think world teams are so huge in influencing the littles. I mean, without watching world teams, I don't think I would have ever been on one. That's definitely really big. So I think the top of the levels will really create the younger generations to ultimately one day they're going to become at the top and influence the younger generations. How
do you deal with, and I know you guys have to mentally be prepared for competing, but I could only imagine that, you know, while you're walking around, like people know and they're like, I want a picture. Just because I've been that person too, where I'm like, can I have a picture? And sometimes they'll say, hey, you know, we're about to compete after competition. Do you guys ever like, I've taken 500 pictures today, like, please no, I gotta go to bed.
While we're tired, like comp weekends are very long, I always like to think of it, I was once that girl. I remember my first cheer sport fangirling over all the TGLC athletes and having the best experience with them. And our coaches are always saying, doesn't matter how tired you are, you always say yes in the kindest way possible. Unless you're on your way to warm-ups, you can always reply with, find me after. I'm on my way to warm-ups. I'm focused on my team right now. Just don't say no to them. Make the effort that you also want to take a picture with them. And when you're done taking a picture with them, thank them for asking you, because we wouldn't be anywhere without our fans.
Right. And you guys have a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Like it was when you guys had the EMT routine, and I remember I think it was at Cheersport, and you couldn't even hear the music, you just heard the fans. And do you hear them when you guys are up on stage like that?
Yeah, it's actually such a cool feeling.
Yeah.
Knowing they're singing your music.
Do you still hear your music, or do you just hear the fans? Because in that video, you could only hear the fans.
I'll be honest with you, I remember that routine at Cheersport, EMT, it was very hard to hear our dance music.
Yeah.
Yeah, very hard.
All you heard was the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so it is time for send-off round.
Ooh, here we go.
Here we go. All right.
I won't see. Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite cheerleading memory of all time so far?
Oof. Wow. I would say making TGLC, even though I'm not cheering at the moment, like I wasn't cheering when I found out, that's a memory that I'm going to hold on to forever.
So what were you doing?
I was just sitting on my couch, honestly, scrolling on my phone, waiting for that email.
Yeah.
And
refreshing it.
Yeah. I remember crying right after. I knew there was a chance I wasn't going to make it, but like we talked about, I had manifested so much that I started to believe that I was going to get it. So when I did find out, it was just a breath of fresh air.
And that first year that you were on TGLC, you made Matt. were you, like, I remember watching you at Showcase and you were flying. Did you tumble that year with them?
I didn't. I actually tumbled around January of that year. An athlete got hurt and they asked me to do a 3 to full. The cool thing is that wasn't the intended skill. The intended skills are 3 to doubles, but we're able to camouflage it. Because at the end of the day, it is at level 6 skill, a 3 to full. But if you have the correct technique and it's a skill, it's like a skill lower than the one you're supposed to be competing, it still qualifies and gives you the points.
Awesome. Yeah. Wow.
It was really cool to be able to tumble, even though I wasn't choreographed in. I got the chance to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any pre-competition rituals or superstitions that you, like, for example, my oldest has to wear 2 mixed matched socks for every competition, and one of them has to be Spider-Man. So she has to do that. And again, she has to listen to, like, TGLC, Lady Jags music before she goes on mat. And so what do you do? Do you have any, or does the team have some that you all do?
I would say I had more at lower levels. One that I kept, and I'll probably keep forever. My used to pistols. My best friend at the time, shout out to Kate if you're ever listening to this, she put glitter in her shoes. Called it the magic fairy dust. I don't know why I really like that one, and I still do it to this day.
So you put it in your shoes, both of them, or just one in
both,
general?
Yeah. I get a makeup brush and I put glitter in both of my shoes. I don't know, something about it. I love it.
That's awesome. Now I'll know every time I see you competing. She's got glitter in her shoes.
So if it falls on my base's eyes, sorry about that.
I didn't think of that, but that's a possibility. How do you like to relax and unwind outside of cheer?
Even though it's a physical activity, I love working out. I've always had a passion for it. Going on walks, going to the beach, that's always really good because, I'm grounding and relaxing. Don't really have my mind on it. I'm a bookworm too. I love reading just for fun too. Yeah. I think it's really important to do other activities that don't revolve around cheerleading.
Yeah, that is important. So you stay. Then I feel like that just makes you love it more. You know what I mean? And appreciate it more. All right, ready? And you can't say TGLC, and we know you love Double O, but favorite Worlds team?
Oh, okay, here we go. I'll give you one that I really enjoyed this season. It's probably going to change every season. I really enjoyed Code Black's routine.
I did too.
And non-tumbling routines are really difficult to make what a normal cheer routine would be. And this routine, when I watched it, I just wanted more of it.
Yeah.
And it was crazy to me, and I followed them throughout the whole season. It's my favorite.
You got to be creative for sure when you have that non-tumbling part.
For sure, yeah.
Because now you got to add, where normally we would add tumbling, you got to add something else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were fun to watch, for sure.
Very.
Okay, what TGLC theme has been your favorite?
Well, I feel like I kind of gave this one away earlier, but Karate Kid year. Yeah, 2019.
Yeah.
I love that routine. The music, how hard-hitting it is. The uniforms were so fun. At least that I was a part of. I think EMT was really iconic. At first when I heard the music, I didn't know how I felt about, the girl in the song. I was like, well, but once I saw like the uniforms and you guys performing the routine and just seeing it all come together, because sometimes you hear, first of all, I'm one of those people that I'm like, refresh. Me too.
When your theme comes out. And so I was like, oh wow, how are they gonna do this? Just like this year's too, I was like, wow, this is gonna be difficult, because I watched the whole thing, like the Empire, right? Like I'm like, how are they gonna incorporate this into a cheer routine like this? But you guys did amazing. Especially my favorite part was, I think it was Flyers who did this, when you guys went like this.
Yeah.
That was really amazing. Cool, and you guys like kind of slowed it down. It was awesome. I get goosebumps. So, okay, so that's it. So Karate Kid.
Yeah. Oh, such an iconic year too.
There was one year, and I don't know if it was Double O or TGLC, but they had the actual Top Gun. The theme was actual like Top Gun the movie, and I remember I think it was a year that Top Gun Southwest Florida also went to cheer sport. Because my daughter was on Snipers that year. She was like 9 at the time, and they were there. I believe it was that year. It was just amazing. I loved watching them and their whole, like, all their outfits. It looked so perfect the way they just did. Again, how do you put a whole movie into a routine like that? And they just perfected it. Yeah, you guys, it's so creative, so creative. Do they ever let you guys, let's say, and I don't know at that level, right? But do they ever, if they want to change something up in the routine, or let's say like, hey, we're going to add just a little pop here, a little dance move there. Do they ever let you guys come up with something like, we're just at practice and the coaches might be talking and figuring something out. Like, we want to do a quick snap here. Do they ever let you guys have any input in that?
They always ask for our input, actually.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes we'll just be sitting down. I mean, one of our Tumblr boys this year was just messing around and did a motion just for fun. The coaches ended up really loving it and kept it in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I always think like they're so strict they would not let you guys do anything like that. Like, no, we'll take care of it. But they do. They let you just...
Yeah, they want to get a feel of our personality, make it more unique to us. Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice would you give someone at their first TGLC practice? I can't imagine. I'm nervous just thinking about it. Like, if it was my own child going into a practice like that for their first time, not really knowing anyone. Because you guys have people from all over coming onto that team, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you give? Obviously, they're going to be nervous.
I would say trust yourself. Go in confident in what you can do. Big one is don't compare yourself to others. Again, we have veterans who've been on the team for 5 years and more rookies like you going in. Definitely be excited. Make it fun. I get it's TGLC, it's a big name, a big cheer team, but don't take it so seriously. Again, you can always sense when someone is really stiff and nervous to be there.
Yeah.
Just take it in. The coaches always say don't blink. It goes by so quickly.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So much fun. So your schedule and practices, and this is more for our parents who are watching, just like, hey, maybe one day I'll want, my child will be on TGLC, or, that's the family goal, is to, get you to a world team. What times do you guys practice? Is it, we met some kids from Senior Elite over when we were in North Carolina at Gold Rush, and I was talking to some of the parents, and they said, right after this on Sunday, they have a 3-hour practice, So do you have like weekend practices only? I know you said you're in the gym Tuesday, Thursday. So does it change every season, or is it always the same time?
So it's always our scheduled practices, no matter where we are. We're having Tuesday and Thursday practice from 7 to 10 p.m.
Okay.
Towards the next year, half of the season, we have weekend practices because comp season's coming up. We work on perfecting our routine. We include weekend practices from around 10 to 2.
Okay.
Yeah. And obviously right now in the summer we have temporary weekend practices. It just depends on the choreo or the days we get our music. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah, so that's good to know. Just so that people could, I wasn't sure if it was like, hey, we're just practicing, once a week at the beginning until, we get closer to comp season. But so it's a scheduled all the time. Is it always Tuesday, Thursdays? Was it last season Monday, Wednesday, or no?
It's always Tuesday, Thursday.
Always.
Some world teams practice different days. So we practice with Lady Jags and Double O, UFO, and our Toxic Level 7 team. They practice Monday, Wednesdays.
Okay.
Which are our open teams.
Okay. Wow. It's a lot of teams over there.
Oh, yeah. Super fun, though.
Yeah. Do you guys have the send-offs? Because we have send-offs over here. Do you guys do that where before, you go to cheer sport or NCA or whatever the case may be, do you guys have where people get to come in and watch you guys and cheer you on at the gym?
I would say the most of a send-off we had was our last practices before Worlds. It's not public, we don't announce it or anything, but so many alums come in and all the teams fill up from Mondays and Wednesdays. They come to Tuesdays and Thursday practices. The gym is absolutely packed. The vibes are insane. There's videos up on Instagram, and I just rewatch them, and just through the screen, I get so much energy watching it.
Yeah.
And we do have some often full-out parties where, whether it's before NCA, a big competition, we'll watch LJ will watch us.
Right.
Last year we watched Glock, and yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Do you guys communicate with the other Worlds teams from the other locations? Like, do you guys ever get a chance to, like, talk with the kids from Revelation or, the other Worlds teams from other Top Guns?
Yeah, I mean, we see them at Hot Shots or Geneva. Geneva's a really fun camp. I mean, I had my best friend who was on TGLC. Her family moved to Orlando, and she was on Revs this past year. I talked to her at every single competition.
Well, that's good. You guys saw each other.
There's definitely a lot of people who are friends. We have, same Top Gun family. We're prone to have friends in different locations.
Yeah.
Right now, I have a friend over at Top Gun Arizona, I think.
That's my favorite Top Gun. I just follow them on Instagram, and I love their videos, and I don't know, I'm always talking about Top Gun Arizona. I really need to stop. Shout out to them. Last question. Tell me about Camp Geneva. What's it like there? What's the vibe like? Is it like a rigorous schedule that you guys are on when you go up there?
So most think Camp Geneva is really crazy. The friend I'm talking about from Top Gun Arizona, she just joined the Top Gun family in general. And she let me know, she's like, I'm so nervous for Camp Geneva. I'm like, don't be. It's super fun camp. You're given the itinerary for the whole weekend. It's a lot of team bonding. It's where you really get to know your teammates. You stay in a cabin. It's definitely really in the middle of the woods camp.
Yeah.
There's so many activities. It's not only cheerleading, and you get to work with so many coaches from different locations, not just your own. Getting a different coaching perspective. It doesn't really feel like cheerleading. You're just stunting, because it is an all stunting camp. Stunting and having fun with your friends, whether you're in the lake, walking around the woods, doing different activities.
That's awesome. Lakes scare me.
Yeah.
Coming from Florida, we don't go into the lakes. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much. That's the episode. Thanks again to Valentina, two-time world cheerleading champion from TGLC. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will catch you on the sidelines. This is the Cheer Chronicles podcast.
Woo! Thank you for having me.
That was so much fun.